are you?
Good, how are you?
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. We'll start by saying a pledge of allegiance. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And
I move we approve the agenda.
I guess I'll have to second. It's approved as written. Public comments. Anyone from the public here? No. Rachel, you
I'm good.
don't qualify as the public? Okay. And we are to continue addressing the uniform grading policy. And Wendy, you want
I just want to, can you all just state your names for us, please?
Sure. I'm Carmen Dillard, I'm Director of Elementary Education.
Jerry Henderson, Director of Secondary Education.
Charity Summers, Principal of Beaufort High School.
Okay,
Okay, go ahead, Mel, sorry.
that's okay.
And you're welcome to come up to the table, we're very informed.
Yeah, I mean, unless you just want to sit over there and feel like you're separate. Well, you join us here. All right, Wendy, are you leading this show or?
I'm going to review the revisions that were made at the last meeting.
Yes.
And the first one is in 1B. Schools should issue report cards at the end of each academic quarterly grading period. In number 2B, after 2016, beginning with the 2016-2017 school year. Then we just added AU audited and P not passed, P no value passed. Then prior to 2016, 2015, 2016 school year earlier, the grading scale was as follows. Then final grade calculation is based on the quarterly academic grading period for the two quarter academic grading periods to equal 50% of the grade. And then on page 3, 4B, at the end, there was a request to put 2015, 2016 school year and earlier. And then on page 7 at the bottom of the page.
Wendy, before you go to page 7, page 4, C. Can we change the terminology, or at least add something to after 2016, a bit
Oh, yes, sir.
ambiguous?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can do that.
Okay,
All right, so there we'll say, beginning with the 2016-17 school year. Thank you. I'll do that. Beginning with the 2016-2017 school year. Okay, I got that. Thank you.
okay. Then,
Okay.
page 7, is that?
Yes, sir. So Dr. Glaude and Dr. Rodriguez, we are reviewing this administrative regulation IS 43 grading assessment system. And we are now at the bottom of page 7. And in that last paragraph, instead of district, we have BCSD to reference our school district. And then at the top of page 8, we have the BCSD instead of district.
And just to reiterate, everything that's in red are the new things that we're adding based
With the-
on what the state.
the state said to us.
State regs,
Yeah.
yeah.
Got it.
That's right, that's exactly right. And then, the last section is actually a section that we were gonna talk about today, about, on page 13, Roman numeral X, grade point average, number D. I think Ms. Fidrich wanted to talk with staff about how the criteria was determined for selecting honor graduates for valedictorian, salutatorian, top 10, and that is within the discretion of the district. The district has a discretion to set those, so there aren't really any changes to it, but if you have any questions, Ms. Henderson was at another meeting that day, that's why she couldn't be with us, otherwise, she regretted she couldn't be here, but she'd be glad to answer any questions you have about that.
What you're saying then is the state didn't have any rate changes at all for that.
They're saying that it's within, the discretion of the district to determine how they set that criteria.
Okay,
Is it our expectation that every high school does it the same? Because in here, it says, the cutoff dates for determining the GPA, it says the 7th semester of high school and the third 9 weeks of senior year. I just want to make, so my question is it the same at every high school
It is the same across the district.
across the district?
Correct.
And also for clarification, on page 8 of the uniform grading policy revision stated April 9th, 2019, I want to direct your attention to the bottom of the page, and it states, the establishment of criteria for determining honors graduates, including the valedictorian or salutatorian, is a local decision. Local boards may establish earlier cutoffs, e.g. the 7th semester of high school, the third 9 weeks of senior year, when ranking students for any local purpose. However, class rank for life scholarships is determined at the conclusion of the spring semester, and we added by the Commission on Higher Education.
Here, it's on page 13, it's the one we were just looking at.
Well, we were just talking about.
Yeah, she said 8, yeah.
No, I said 8 of the uniform grading policy.
Oh,
I wanted to, but there was a question last week about where did that authority come from,
Yeah.
and it's within the,
So can you just tell me where you read that again?
on the uniform grading policy on page 8.
D.
I'm not talking about, what I'm trying, last week there was a question about how was that determined? And so in the uniform grading policy revisions, that was on page 8. So it's not, I'm making reference to the revisions. The South Carolina Uniform Grading Policy dated May 14th, 2019.
So,
go ahead, Jim.
Okay, so clarification, so the GPA is determined after 3/4 of the senior year is completed? Is that just basically what this is saying?
That's what they're saying.
Yeah, 3/4.
3/4,
Yeah, that would make sense. Okay.
Anybody else? There was a concern last week about a couple of things. Early graduation, and that's 7th semester, high school, or third 9 weeks of the senior year, but early graduates are not gonna get
They
to.
forfeit the opportunity to compete for Val Sal or honor grad.
Is that clearly stated in the policy somewhere?
That is stated, it's in this course catalog on the district website. And also, there's an application process for early graduate that's uniform across the district, and it states that. And when a student submit for early graduation, the deadline is established at the end of the first quarter, which generally is around October 31st, October 20th. That gives us ample time to process that student request. Parent is called in to be counseled, along with the school counselor, and the principal sign off on that packet.
Okay. I mean, because, you know,
do you think, is the reason that they forfeit, tell me what the reasoning is behind why they're forfeiting, the right to be considered an honors graduate?
because they did not complete the entire school year. And actually, there are also specific guidelines in regards to CHE, the Commission on Higher Education. They will qualify for the Life Scholarship and Palmetto Fellow. However, again, when that student graduate in December, their GPA is no longer factored in regards to their peers in the system. So that is, and that comes from the State Department. For instance, I think you had about 20 students that graduated early last year. When they receive that transcript, they're pulled out of the, I'm sorry.
And it's the final.
And it is their final transcript, and they're not even considered and even in the ranking, and that's state guidelines.
That's state.
That's state guidelines, yeah.
Right,
We
that
don't make,
clarifies, yeah.
we don't make that determination.
That's what we were concerned about.
About, yeah.
Yeah.
you know.
But essentially, they're officially, even though they may be participating in the ceremony, they've already graduated.
Correct.
So the individuals who are graduating, they can be factored into the GPA calculations for honors. If you've already graduated, you're no longer
In
essentially in Power School, or no longer essentially a student of Beaufort County School District.
So does their transcript then, ultimately, somebody who graduates early, their transcript will have their GPA, but it will not have a class rank?
That is correct.
That's correct.
That is
Because
correct.
they won't be ranked in the
That's
class they
correct.
will
That is
really.
correct.
Right,
That is
we're not
correct.
ranked,
That is
right.
correct.
Okay.
Because as we know, a student can graduate a semester early. They're called winter graduates. A student of the class of 2019 that chose to graduate December of 2018. However, we have students that graduate a year early. They're early graduates who are 11th graders who actually make that decision to graduate an entire year early.
And the same
So there's two
rules- The
categories.
same rules apply for both categories?
Yes.
And so, but, you know, we had a parent here last time, and she said that on her daughter's transcript, her daughter graduated early, and she said on her transcript, it did say that she was 4th in her class.
And in the
So
case
that
like that,
would
that was
be-
your school.
Yeah, and it shouldn't have. What it should have said was rank undetermined.
And I think if I recall this situation, and you all can correct me, the district requirements to be an honor grad, you have to be enrolled in school 3 semesters prior to graduation, continuous semesters. And I will tell you about 10 years ago when Dr. Truesdale and Dr. Alfred was here on staff, there were some issues that had to be addressed because we're a transit community. We have military kids coming in, we have students coming in from all over. And students were enrolling in the district a semester before graduation, and they were knocking kids out of the top 10. So that became an issue. So, and I hate this, I won't say I hate, there are gonna be issues. You're gonna have a student like that every now and then. But can you imagine having military kids, and I will tell you as a veteran, oftentimes people transfer like December. And you come in, now you knocked out number 1 or 2, and we've seen that happen. So the board approved this about 10 years ago to prevent that from happening.
I think if we could make sure that the transcript, when they graduate early, doesn't allude to class rank, that would be, I think that would help immensely with the, I understand that you've got a process, which is great, where the parent signs off, the student knows, you have that conversation, but still, when you have it in writing, when you get that transcript,
Of
and,
course.
you know, so.
Is that through Power School or?
That was a power school,
It was Power
data
School.
specialist.
So there is a way for us, there is a way for us to make sure that doesn't
If they could
happen?
work with Daniel to get that.
Yeah, we would have to do, it has to be done as a default in Power School to say rank undetermined. Because you can print a transcript that says rank undetermined.
Okay. So how do we make sure that happens? I guess that's just what I'm asking, that we just,
It would have to happen through data services.
Is that the data processor at the school inputting, or is that here?
It would have to be set as a default here, because we can't set defaults at, on the school level.
That's a money to confirm you, but, yeah, can I
Is that
confirm that?
Daniel Fallon?
And we'll confirm that.
I'm making a note.
Okay.
We'll email
I mean,
all of
to me, I don't know, maybe the rest of you don't feel that way, I just feel like that would help alleviate
Yes.
Oh, I agree.
this type of
I agree.
situations.
And also maybe if there was some disclaimer there, is rank undetermined because, you had 2 categories, early graduate or winter
you.
graduate?
Either early graduate or winter graduate. And I think-
Per South Carolina Department of Education,
Alright.
whatever.
Are there,
You know? So you know why they're not ranked.
are there other instances, right, other than that case, right, where somebody gets their transcript and it says rank undetermined? So in other words, was that just an error, one-time error, or is there a system already in place that says, puts it in there, it says rank undetermined when it prints?
No, her rank was not undetermined. What happened is the rank is supposed to be undetermined when you are printing transcripts, and the situation was that her rank was not undetermined. Her rank was printed on the transcript because that's the way PowerSchool processes the transcripts. When you submit it, it's going to give her a rank unless there's a default to say rank undetermined.
So what I'm hearing then is the default have to be placed in by the district, and principals have to submit the default item, student.
If
How else would we know? From the district standpoint?
if the PowerSchool defaults are in there, then if I'm graduating in December, then it would not rank me automatically. It would just happen where when my transcript prints, it would not print any rank on my transcript. It would just print rank undetermined based on the preset defaults that are in the system to read that, hey, I'm graduating early. And so when you set those, then I don't have to do anything. It just
Okay.
automatically does.
So automatically does it. Every time a student item comes up early, that's what you're saying? If they
Right.
graduate early,
Right, when it reads me,
then go
when it
all the
reads
way
me,
to the end.
right,
Yeah.
when it reads me as my cohort, and I'm graduating outside of my cohort, then
Yeah.
it's gonna say, hey, red flag, she's graduating outside of her cohort, since she is, rank undetermined.
Okay.
But that has to be a default that's set in there, that doesn't automatically happen.
That's technology, I guess, right?
I have another
It's
question
technology.
too, but could that have a negative effect on our early graduates then? Like you're graduating in December and you're gonna go off to college and you're gonna take like half a year off or something. I'm just thinking, okay, wait a minute. Do colleges have to know your class rank? And so I'm thinking, oh, maybe there's a negative to that for the student.
Well, colleges, they're looking at the GPA. I'll give you an example
Okay.
to answer the first question you asked. When a student graduate early or went to graduate, they're coded in the system, e.g. The data specialist select the code, e.g. early graduate, which automatically remove that GPA. So the data specialist has to code them, and there's a process for early graduates. And I would tell you, those students that graduate early, we don't just let students graduate early. They have to either be going to college, military, or the workforce. And even with the workforce, if they're not college and career ready, we still don't
We
let them
can't let them
graduate.
graduate.
But they will stay. We don't just let anybody walk out of the door because it would not be to their benefit. If a kid, like for instance, we've had students to go off to Clemson, USC, and the institutions wanted them early to prep them for the football season. And these students are high flyers to begin with, the ones that I'm thinking of. But, so in those cases, we go ahead, and their scholarship kicks in. They say, we need them here early, especially Clemson. Or if they're going off to college early. We had two students from Hilton Head, both parents were scientists, and they wanted their daughter to graduate a year early. They could care less about the scholarships. They were gonna pay for her tuition. But in addition to that, she had already earned so much in scholarships. So it's not your everyday student that's walking out the door. If they're not college and career ready, we're doing a disservice to allow them to walk out the door. So there's certain stipulations before they graduate early.
Yeah, but to her point, I mean, you addressed the point of the other student that graduates early, that is college ready, that does not have the parents support or the football scholarship. What about their GPA and class rank when the college look at that transcript and they wanna determine whether this child is qualified to attend college or not?
The GPA is gonna be on the transcript.
GPA is on
The
it.
GPA is, oh yes.
The class rank is not.
Exactly. The GPA is
Does
always on
it
transcript.
say, does it say anything at all about how many students in the class or anything?
The,
That's a good question.
the only thing that, when colleges are, the only thing that really matters in terms of college acceptance is that GPA.
The test
They don't,
scores.
and the test scores. The only time that class rank matters is there, if that person is Val or Sal, then, or, that person has a or a college officer 10% scholarship for being in the top 10% of the class.
Yeah.
Val scholarships matter, Sal scholarships matter. Most colleges and universities honor those. If they also look at whether the student is and the GPA in comparison to whether that they qualify for honors college and free education based on that. So colleges really don't use rank as much as people think they do. Usually it's Val and Sal.
And test scores.
And
And I'll give you an example. I remember a student enrolling at Well Branch when I was there. He came from a parochial school. Obviously was a smart student, but did not put forth his max effort. He had like a 3.4 GPA. He aced the acupuncture for dual credit classes. It was obvious he was quite intelligent. And we did a campus tour to USC. He said, Ms. Henderson, this is where I want to go. And I informed him, your GPA is not the strongest. You're going to have to ace the SAT and the SAT. He aced the SAT and ACT. He got a full ride to the Honors College of Engineering at USC. So it's not your ranking, it's the test scores. And I tell students, test scores is money. And you look at the admissions requirement, and you're gonna look at GPA and test scores. They don't ask nowhere, you wanna see ranking on an application, for the most part.
Well, the applications have changed since I've.
And they're looking at the whole student, they're looking at the whole
Always
student.
asked class rank on those applications, now maybe they've changed.
The emphasis, and I would tell you that colleges today are looking at the whole student. That's why we stress to students, you need to be involved with the community.
Yeah.
Volunteer in extracurricular activities. They don't want just a academic-based student. They want a whole concept student. That's gonna be an ambassador for their institution.
That's true, we know that part, but it's still, we're still not addressing that in terms, so you're saying it doesn't matter, class ranking if you're not one or two.
The
So
emphasis,
we ought to discard that for seniors too then.
no, what I'm saying is generally.
I'm just being a logical argument.
Yeah. Not exactly. Class rank generally does not matter unless you are South, Val, and South. There may be colleges, I can't name them, I can't tell you which ones, but there may be colleges that will look at the top 10% of the class. And there may be scholarships that look at the top 10%. However, when most colleges are looking at the number 1, number 2 students for their scholarships. The other factors that matter are going to be whether or not that student has a GPA and the test scores to fit into the honors college track. If they do, then class rank doesn't matter. It just simply won't matter.
Sorry.
So rank beyond 1 and 2 generally has no bearing.
No bearings at all.
It generally has no bearing.
So it's probably safe to say that our students who are graduating early, they know they're forfeiting, they're not the valedictorian
Yes,
and
they do.
salutatorian because
Right.
otherwise if they had that knowledge, they would probably
Stay. Mm-hmm.
And then, so they're forfeiting that, and their scores and grade points are high enough that a ranking top 10% in the is gonna be insignificant.
It's not
in their
insignificant.
admission.
Correct.
So that's
And generally, your top 5 students, they don't graduate early because they're after. Your 1 through 5, they're gonna stick it out because they want to be 1 through 5.
yeah.
and I tell you, and we do not discourage a student from graduating early if they have those post-secondary endeavors in place. However, we want to encourage them. I'll be honest with you, if you're going off to college, you can stay here and take dual credit classes, if that's the case. So we share all those options with
Yeah, we
them.
do.
So,
They make informed decisions, that's what you're
They
saying.
really do.
Definitely.
Okay. Guess we sleep tonight, I might.
and if we can take that off,
Everybody else, we have.
okay.
Those were all the revisions from the last.
Okay. I'd like to go back, if I can, since Ms. Henderson's here. There was some discussion about the use, so if there's an EOC in the class, it's 20% of the grade. Okay, that's a state
Right.
requirement. And then there was some discussion that if there's not an EOC in the class, there seems to be some latitude among different teachers in different buildings on how that final grade is determined. So that's my question, is there that latitude? And, you know, because, you know, it doesn't quite seem fair, but it would be, that's a biased thing to say, but, that was the complaint, I think, or what we heard, was that all the teachers need to kind of, at the high school level, be doing it the same way.
And
Yeah.
to add to
We have
Kathy's
to add.
comment, even further, we're in the same high school. Two teachers teaching the same course then would have different ways to calculate the final grade.
Right.
That seems problematic, so,
I agree.
okay.
Okay, so I agree. So one of the things that at Beaufort High that we have discussed is adopting the state grading regs as our policy for all courses. And when I say adopting it, because the EOC counts 20%, it just simplifies it for all exams to count 20% and have 80-20
That's what I
for everybody.
Yeah.
So
So,
and it simplifies it for parents, students, teachers, everybody. It just kind of across the board require everybody to give a final exam and require that final exam to count 20%.
so first quarter, 40%,
Uh-huh.
second quarter, 40%,
Final
final
exam,
semester
20%.
exam, 20%.
20%.
Same thing again, third quarter 40, fourth quarter 40, semester 20.
20.
So we don't have that in policy.
And
That's not
We,
a problem.
we don't, but that's what we're saying that it
You're
would simplify.
suggesting that?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I thought you
It
were
would
doing
simplify.
that.
Yeah, it would simplify if that's what we were doing. It would simplify.
Yeah, it would simplify, that was Tina's suggestion last meeting. You know, and the only thing I'd be concerned about is that final exam is truly comprehensive in terms of the entire year's work, as opposed to the second semester's work, which is influencing the first semester's grade.
And so.
Well, wait a second. So, first semester, right?
Yeah.
40%,
Mhm,
40%.
mhm.
Semester exam on all of first semester, 20%. Third quarter, 40%, fourth quarter, 40%, final exam, 20% on second semester work, third and fourth quarter.
That would work, but I don't think that was the intent of the discussion or what she's suggesting. That would work. She's suggesting the same method, I think, that's what Tina was, I'm sure, as the state requirements.
Right.
And the state requirement is end of course exam.
For courses that have end of course exam, it's full course
Full course.
exam,
Yes.
you know.
Well, and I think they're saying,
But-
to simplify it, they would do the same thing. Now, you just brought up another concept that.
So the concept I brought up
You went up
is
half
is
half
what-
year,
that's the way it was laid out in Palm Beach,
yeah,
with the exception of
and
courses that had end of course exams from the state,
yeah.
because in Florida, the mandate was 30%. So that changed.
So, let me see if I hear you correctly. You're saying first semester is 40%, that final test for the first semester is really 10%.
No, what I'm saying is, first quarter is 40% of the grade,
Of the semester grade.
of the semester grade, correct, yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Second quarter is 40% of the semester grade.
yeah,
And
and
then the
final
exam
test.
is 20% of the semester grade.
Okay, this is 10%, it's the same thing.
So are the,
I mean, 40% of the grade into that exam, 10% of the grade after the exam, so that's 50%. Next semester, the same thing, right?
And
The
you-
quarters
I'm not sure,
generally,
I'm not sure.
here's what I'm saying. The quarters generally, when it comes to semester grade, the quarters generally aren't finalized, are they?
No, they're interim.
Yeah, they're interim,
So, and you brought
and
up,
they're rolling.
you brought up a question about the exam and making sure the exam was, you brought up a question about the exam and making sure the exam was an exam that was comprehensive. And I agree, but that happens at building leadership. Building leaders are going to have to ensure that teachers understand that the final exam is a comprehensive exam that is aligned to the state standards and mastery based on the state standards. But that's a building leader. Building leaders are going to have to do that, and they're going to have to be held accountable for doing that.
You know,
So you can say it,
He's gonna make sure they do it,
Yeah.
because we're gonna say that's what we want.
right? But what I'm saying, if you're saying that's what you want, but ultimately trickle down, that trickle down from the building leader to the
Yeah,
teachers.
I understand.
Because, yeah,
I
so
understand.
we would have to make sure that that's
Yes,
happening.
I understand that part of the, we're trying not to go there. We're trying to make sure that if we set the parameters and, yeah, it's followed, and that's where we are. But I understand. I was a renegade teacher myself, so I know when you say, what's something on that exam? I said, I'm gonna put what I taught on the exam, because I'm testing my children. But yeah, and that, you know, that's not what we're talking, that is what we're talking about, right? Making sure that you're testing, but everybody's being tested on,
How,
yes.
how many of the courses that, have EOCs are year-long courses versus semester courses? Because that makes a difference too, right? So like Algebra 1, is that a semester
Yes,
or a year?
It is a semester course in Beaufort County School District.
Well, time out. Is it a semester course because of the 4x4?
4x4,
Yes.
exactly.
Oh,
But
Four by
4x4 is a
Four,
full
it's
year
a full
course.
year. Okay, so
four
it is a
by-
full
So it
year.
starts in
Yeah,
August.
Okay,
and
so it's a
ends in
full
December.
year. Biology's gotta be a full year.
Yes. U.S. history and
It's not in August.
English.
It's not in August.
It's a full academic year, no matter, but 4x4 schedule,
So-
because you have two semesters.
Right.
Yeah, but it's a full
Right,
year.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 It's
It's
worth
not-
one Carnegie
One
unit.
unit,
One kind
yes.
of-
One Carnegie unit,
Yeah,
yes.
it is the Carnegie.
And I think Jerry's
Okay.
right
It's
in
not a
that,
full year.
Some schools have found, at least some schools, I think some schools have found that even though they're on a 4x4 block, right, that for some students, right,
Skinnies.
Different
It's-
skin,
that's
different
right.
skins.
and they make it, they extend it, right?
Extend,
So-
right.
So there may be a full
Right.
year.
45 minutes, full year. In addition, they have the option,
That's
because you want to look at that lower
Cool, cool.
25%
Because they want them to be
percentile, be successful.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we have the option of
That's what they-
offering them intermediate algebra and foundation.
Nations.
Right.
So for those students that are in the lower 25 percentile.
Yeah, but, I mean, what about the grades for that? I mean, I can't recall, but the grades for that, the final semester is the algebra grade, right? Or they have a year-long grade.
If there's year-long, they're only meeting 45 minutes, so they'll get that final grade
Right,
at the
at the end of the year.
That final
Right,
grade.
yes.
And EOC added to
Right.
that.
Yes.
So they're meeting, 4x4, they're meeting every day
Right.
for 90 minutes, but when they're 45 minutes every day instead of the 90 minutes, so they get the 120 hours.
Do they get 2 credits for another credit for the supplementary, or is that
They do
just
not.
a
No.
45,
Same amount of
45?
time.
A slow dragged out
That's it.
process.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes.
I thought you had slow dragged out process with a supporting class, but no. That's the reason I'm saying that, because the unit.
Could be different.
Time
Could
is.
be.
And that's a good question.
Yeah.
The schools have the option to offer also what we call enrichment math,
Yeah,
which
because-
is taught first semester, preparing them for Algebra 1.
Yeah.
Or they
Yes.
can use foundation or
Yeah.
intermediate, so they have various
Yeah,
options.
scheduling, that's, you know, that's a headache if you don't have a 45-minute component, because you're doing 90-minute blocks, you know, so, yeah, that's what, nice. All right, Are we good?
So I have one question
Yeah.
about, can I ask a question about, so I start with the EOCs, let's go to biology or one of them. So, your first semester grade, let's say, is 80, and your second semester grade is 80. And then you take the EOC and you ace it, you get 100. So your first semester grade is gonna be 80, your second semester grade 80, but your final grade will be 80 times 0.4 plus 80 times 0.4 plus 100 times 0.2, and that would be your final grade. So your final grade, that 20% that the EOC test was, is never, it doesn't change your first semester grade, it doesn't change your second semester.
correct.
It only changes your final. So would that be the same way that any other course would be? That final grade on the, if we say that the.
I didn't follow that.
Okay.
I'm not sure I agree with that.
Yeah, see, so, because you were kind of talking, oh, I understood, Mel, so you were thinking, okay, they take they have a grade for the first semester and a grade for the second. Those are each weighted as 40%,
Of the final,
20%,
yeah.
and then the final grade final test is 20%. But you were saying go back and change the first semester, so you add 10% of that, you add half of that final exam?
It'd be the same thing, that I'm saying,
No, so I think that's gonna make it really confusing, because you finished the first semester.
well, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
That my argument was, if you're gonna go to that system, then that first semester, that test has to reflect the first semester, so you're not finished with it. You only got 80% of the, 90% of the grade of that first semester, when you got that 40%. You got 90% of the first semester's grade. There's 10% of that grade lying on the EOC. If
Yeah,
you,
but that's not the way the EOCs are done, see?
oh yeah, that's the way it's done. That's the way we have to calculate it.
So reflective on a report card. If we're looking at a report card, then what I'm looking at for my quarter one grade, if that's 80, that's 80, that's gonna be 80 now, that's gonna be 80 in December.
Yeah.
If my second quarter grade is 80, that's gonna be 80 now, that's gonna be 80 in December. So the way Power School is set up, when the grade is calculated for a final grade, because you're gonna have quarter one, quarter two, exam grade, final grade.
Right.
So quarter one stays the same, quarter two stays the same. Exam grade is still gonna be reflected no matter what you make. Final grade is the only thing that's gonna be impacted.
Right.
So final grade is going to have the
Final
impact
grade going-
of the 40,
go back
40,
and
20
affect each
final
of
grade.
them. Yes.
And it's reflective in Power School as
Yeah.
such in
Right.
the
So
system.
maybe
You'll
we're
see
saying the same thing, just
E1,
differently.
where you see E1, that's the EOC grade, where you see F1, that's the final
Final
grade that
grade.
comprises of all
And
of
that's
I
the
did
only
that
thing
so
that
many
shows up on the
times.
transcript, is the
Correct.
final
The
grade.
final grade.
Exactly, but you
Correct.
can look in Power School and see all of that,
Yeah,
otherwise.
The transcript only gonna show that final
Final
exam.
grade.
so
Correct.
we got to-
Correct.
Correct.
right, okay. So I guess the question is, do we think it's important that we have the same process across all of our schools in terms of how the exam grade is counted? You know, we have it for EOCs because the state tells us to do that. And it sounded like that might not even, in some buildings, it may even be different. So I guess the question is, you know, what do you suggest as the, do you see it as being important that there's consistency? And Dr. Rodriguez, or do you think there's a time when there shouldn't?
Well, I mean, I'm used to a system where I'm coming from where there wasn't consistency with respect to EOC versus courses that were not EOC, because the state regulated 30% for
Right.
that, and the others were
Right.
20. But in terms of you know, how we operate with the expectation that it's this percent, and then we have a semester exam or a final exam, whatever we want to call it,
there should be consistency around that. I don't think there should be one classroom to the other classroom in the same building with variance. Because if there is, then, I mean, teacher shop and get in the right class.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
And that is my main concern, that we are fair and that we are a same across the district. And that we're not wavering in certain schools, we're not giving them authority, because that was the argument brought up the other day in the meeting with the principal, saying that there were students who they had kind of went in on because they went to TCL because those courses were easier versus going to take some of the other courses from some of the high schools. What was the college prep courses that they said that were more rigorous? At the last meeting.
but they did,
Yeah.
that was a Carnegie point thing, you know, where you get the
Different levels.
Different levels.
Right,
And I think the answer to that was that the state tells us that.
No, I'm not going there. I'm just
Oh,
saying,
yeah.
I'm using that as,
Oh.
for instance, the same way how they shop and say, hey, I can go get more to boost up my GPA here, the same way they will teacher shop,
Yeah.
or possibly even school shop to help themselves out. So I think we need to be fair and objective across the board. I think we should have one grading scale.
Okay.
So can I ask you a question, Dr. Rodriguez? So in Palm Beach, the non-EOC courses where you said 20% of the final counted 20% of the final grade, correct? But that was true for
Yeah.
any non-EOC course. That would be true for an advanced placement course. That would be true for Algebra 2 or whatever that's not an EOC course.
Any
So it was standard, so nobody could say my final's gonna be 50% of your grade, or my final's gonna be 10% of your grade, no. See, I think we need just.
Because what happened is this, right? So here's how it would work, right? So we had an electronic grading system, right? So the teacher puts in the grade electronically for first quarter.
Yeah.
Then they'll put in for second quarter. Then they'll put in a final exam grade. That goes into the system calculates it, so there's no calculation going on outside of it, right? It's automatically
That's what
40,
happens
40,
here.
20
Yeah.
done, right?
That's what happens here with the EOC. But
Yeah.
You didn't address the cross-school consistency. You just addressed one school, but
Right,
But the
I
teacher
think,
shall
but I
know.
think if we have as a system, this is what either we're doing, 40, 40, 20, or whatever it is that we
Yeah.
decide to do,
Mhm.
right? That's a
Cross-
system-wide
cross
piece,
schools.
and that the
Reason-
expectation
yeah.
that happens.
Yeah, the reason I asked that because, normally I'll put myself on the line by saying that some schools have things like waiver to the finals. Some teachers do have finals in
If that is going to be the case,
some of the courses.
in our
And if-
district policy, we state assignments and student grades is the purview of the teacher. If the policy is going to change, currently, we have, in the district guidelines, 60-40 formative and summative grade. What I would recommend before making that change is definitely get input from the administrators. Because they went through training with Tanya Moon several years ago, came here from the university, who's a known researcher in regards to gifted and talented in grading. So that's why the administrative rule is reflective as it is now, because of the ongoing training that occurred. As a matter of fact, she was here as recently as last school year for Summer Institute. So it wasn't something that just haphazardly occurred. So we had, there were researchers that came in and worked with the administrators that ended up with the percentage as noted. And each school has a grading practice. Charity submits hers just like all the other schools within the district, and is reviewed by district staff to ensure that it's in compliance.
So,
So what you're saying is that each school has their own way of doing
There's
that?
No, but there's some parameters as far as how many formative and
follow.
summative grades they can have.
Well, what about the 50%? On this, they got 50% first semester, 50% second semester. That's on page number 2, the bottom of page number 2. Final grade year-long classes.
And again, that's what district policy with the research with Tony Moon, that's how this policy came about. So it wasn't a school just came up with this, the schools didn't.
Yeah.
I agree.
One I was gonna say, I'm still in support of having one procedure, one basic a basic scale across the board. Also because of the measures of the board, number one goal is the achievement gap, and it needs to be measured upon what we have going on across the north and the south of the district. So I think that would better help us to understand where we're going, how we're moving, if we're moving, and what we're doing, because we're all doing the same thing that is measurable, and we can see what's working and what's not working. But if we are all allowing them to do different things, then it is very much more harder to measure the achievement gap. That's why I'm a strong supporter, because I think we need to focus more on the achievement gap and how we're going to get there. And if one school is doing something different than other schools, then it's much more hard for that to be measured.
All right, Kathy.
Well, the way it reads now for final, I think we have something that all the schools are supposed to be doing.
Right.
We have that.
Yeah.
Right.
The question is it being done?
Right.
That's the
fidelity.
question, because
Yep.
it says right here, it's very clear that, and they talk about formative and summative assessments. So formative assessments is, those are the daily quizzes or that type of thing that's really kind of nice. They give teacher feedback, and the summatives, so we have it. So maybe for what we need to do based on all the, stuff, maybe we need to just take this year and say, okay, let's make sure it's being done with fidelity, and then come back.
So it already exists, it's just
Yeah.
not the 40-40-20, it's
Right.
just
Right.
a fit.
Right.
It's something
Right.
that's,
So
it's
it's
something
there in place, so it just has,
Yeah.
It's something that
Yeah.
should be consistent and
Yes.
it's there. However, and speak to Will's point, that standardized process, that's the reason the formative and summative process to address the achievement gap.
Right.
To give them a little bit more chance to improve and make it before they get to that final.
Yeah.
So that's a process that, people argue one way or the other all the time, educators.
Right.
But I'd say the most modern concept is more formative and not a dying, not a killed summative. So that's the modern concept, and that's why it's in. Now we still got to find consistency in the way that's delivered in school and every courses across the board in school first, because
So the
that's
question-
probably most important.
so the question that I have, the way it's set up, the semester for a year-long course, semester 1 is 50%, semester 2 is 50%. That is there a semester exam or no semester exam?
Okay, so that's I was waiting for that question. So,
Glad I could help.
yeah, I was waiting for that question. So a semester exam in that situation is meaningless. I mean, it's essentially
Because the grade's
null and
already
void,
calculated.
because it doesn't have any impact.
Right.
Right, it has no impact.
Because
And the problem with that is, the problem with the semester exam not really counting for anything is that it impacts two things. One is the way you view an EOC exam and the fidelity by which you treat that EOC exam and the way your mind as a child, this doesn't matter anyway. So it impacts the semester exam in the EOC in that, well, it's never mattered before, it doesn't matter now. I'm still gonna pass the class. The other thing that does is it does not properly prepare students for an examination period that's higher stakes. So that's my take on it, that's just my 2 cents. Take it or leave it.
But he's talking about the 50-50 here.
Yeah, I'm talking about the same thing and the negative
You don't
impact.
think it matters that to have a final exam,
No.
not a final, but a summative at the end of the first quarter? That's what that would amount to.
If it's only counting as a part of the 50% each quarter,
Yeah.
then it really essentially is not a final exam.
No,
It's just a
final
grade.
exam is just a summary.
It's just a grade.
It's another exam
It's
within
another
the
exam.
50%.
Within the
Yes.
50%.
Yes,
And, you know, so I guess if I think back to some of the stuff that I heard last time, right? That would explain why some people that they don't have an exam, right? Because it's
because
50/50.
It's
Right.
So it's done,
50/50,
there's
yes.
no percent
Yep,
in there.
that's it.
But maybe if you're teaching an EOC course,
That's a difference.
right? Now, you
Right.
might see it that way, but that's not really true. They're really abiding by this. It's just that I happen to have an EOC course, so I gotta have an exam.
yeah, well, the question now is, and it still goes back to best practices, and you gave your point of view in terms of the comprehensive, you know, retention of the course matter. What's best for understanding the whole course at the end of the course. Does a completer exam matters or not? And if it does, then that student will care about the impact it's gonna have on the grades. If it doesn't matter because he's floated along at an 80-90% average, and some students are waived. At a 94 average, you don't have to take the quasi-final. And like you say, it's meaningless, because his 94 is in sync. You can't damage it or not.
Right.
So,
To ride the wave.
yeah, so,
And they might look at it and make
and
it.
all of that is not something for us to answer, because we don't have that kind of expertise, but instructional leaders, you guys have to answer that. And you have to look and see what's happening, you know, very finely at the schools.
Yeah. And I think it comes to the building principal level, because they have access to Power Teacher. And Data Services sends weekly reports as to, you know, how many formative, how many, you know, they can look and see what their teachers have put in so far. So if you see there haven't been scores put in, or perhaps they're heavily weighted too much one way or the other, then the building principal can see that. So they can go in and access that information.
Real defense, how if that's not happening, then that's your responsibility now. This building principal, obviously not monitoring, because you see teachers, you know, not being effective, then you have to monitor the building principals. So that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
As long as we're all on the same page and understand what we're looking for from top to bottom, then I think it's a better chance of consistency, you know, across the district, not just in that
Right.
particular school. Yeah.
Well, my question would be to Dr. Rodriguez is, well, how will you make sure that they're monitoring it correctly and they're just not letting them run I mean, you know, how could we?
Well, I think that's one of the, you know, the key things. I mean, if we have data reports that show us how, you know, how we're doing, you know, along the way, that's how you monitor it, you know, and you have, people that can look at it, can monitor it, or if you're not seeing it, then, you know, you can say, hey, we're partway down through the semester here, and we only have 2 scores in here, we're not on pace or on track, you know? It's not fair to kids, because then at the end, what's gonna happen, right? We're gonna have a test every day just so I can get it in, right? So I mean, it's a matter of if we have reports, it's a matter of looking at reports and getting a chance to look through it and make sure it happens, you know?
And I think-
And they're right, that kind of intervention is from the department head up to the principal. And by the time he gets that information, it's reinventing what happened last year. By the time he decipher the whole detail.
And I understand that, and I understand however, I just want to be sure that that we are, because once again, my main focus is the achievement gap. And I'm making sure that the academic committee, that we're working towards the achievement gap in everything that we do, because that is the number one thing. And we've been saying it for years, so I just wanna make sure we get that.
I think also too, as things are being monitored as they should be, then if you start to see, to your point, if a student is struggling or making lower grades, then that should inform instruction. If do they need additional interventions and then, you know, reteaching or whatever, so.
Right.
So we've got this is pretty specific, we just maybe, you know.
It's about fidelity of what we have here.
Exactly, and then we can have, you know, maybe we revisit it after and you know, I think it's just something to stay on top of, right? I mean,
And also too, I think, with new principals coming on board, or people who have been relatively new in administration, there is every summer there's Power School training. In fact, Daniel Fallon was talking today about, they've got some new pieces to this that will
Yeah,
help
they
principals.
just came back.
Just came back,
They
just
spent a
came
few
back,
days
so.
in Power School.
So this will be an opportunity for us to communicate with them to ensure that they understand how to go in and see some of this information.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the student? Wendy,
are you good with that?
are you good with where
I'm
you
gonna
are?
put in the change that you told me about, yes, sir.
So we're leaving it as is and
Yeah,
focusing on
leaving it as
the
is.
And then we'll,
this coming year.
yes.
And then
And then we'll
reevaluate.
reevaluate. I think that
It's a
makes,
good move.
yeah, that makes the best,
So-
so we don't.
How about the GPA, I mean, the GPA with the student who gives up the right to graduate early? Where are we on that situation?
The state, I think, that the,
This district.
well, we discussed that, and the GPA comes off of the transcript, because once the student. The class rank, yeah, the GPA stays, but the class rank goes.
So therefore, if you said the GPA stays?
Yes.
And the class rank goes?
Yes.
So along with that, who has a decision to decide that the class rank goes?
State.
The state, that's a
So
state.
that's a state policy, and if you graduate early, then you give up your ranking in the class.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, good.
There's a lot of
That's
reasons
one
for that.
way,
Yeah.
I'm
Because
sure.
somebody who stays longer has six more,
Yeah.
six more classes to
Yeah,
take, so
yeah.
their grade, the chances of them
Yeah,
going down,
mathematics is-
I could
Yeah,
graduate at my peak.
mathematics is one thing, and the other thing
Yeah.
is
So,
discouraging indirectly that early,
yeah,
because it takes a little planning.
Yeah.
It takes a little planning when you plan for students for 4 years, certain amount of dollars, certain amount of seat places and teacher assignments, and then all of a sudden, 1/3 of your senior class is leaving early because they find a systematic way to beat it. That's why you vetting the students before they go, making sure they're college ready is an important factor.
And I would tell you to add on the flip side of that, when we started early graduation about 3 or 4 years ago, and while I was still at the school, the worst thing in the world is to put a high school senior that second semester in classes he or she doesn't need. They're already college and career ready. I want to go in the military. Can I leave in December? And that was a frustration we heard all the time. Why am I taking these classes? I've already met South Carolina graduation requirement. Why can't we leave early? And thank God the state came along with the early graduation piece. So, and also it relieved the teacher from having a student in the class who doesn't want to be in his class. And I've heard it at the school level all the time. At the high school, you hear that all the time.
Yeah, but my argument to that is, I mean, the scheduling and the curriculum of that child for 4 years, something
Yeah.
wrong there, because or else we shouldn't have 4 years then.
You know,
Every
and-
child should be ready by the military and elsewhere
But the-
after a certain amount of time,
But they're vetted before they walk out the door.
Part of what happens too, right, is that if you're in a 4x4 schedule, right, So on a 4x4 schedule, right, you can get 8 credits in a year, right?
32.
And that's 32. And this requires 24,
Yeah,
Correct.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
24.
right?
Yeah.
So, you know, there's opportunity there
For the fluff, yeah.
for kids, so that's part of it. That part might be part of what we're seeing or experiencing.
Well, the 4x4, yeah, generates
And,
that.
and the 4x4 has advantages too, right? In the sense that if you have, for example, we were talking earlier about a course like algebra, which a lot of times is a gatekeeper for kids, okay?
Yeah.
So if you have kids that, you know, might be struggling with math or with algebra, right? That child can take it 45 minutes a day, right, versus 90 minutes, right? Then not have math second semester,
Yeah.
and then not,
Yeah.
right? So there's some
Maybe,
advantages
right.
to that schedule that gives you that flexibility.
Yeah.
The other thing is, you have a student that, let's say a student fails class for whatever reason, right? You have opportunity built in there to recover that credit
And still
along the way. So there's different
Still build
advantages
schedule.
to different types of schedules. It's, you know, everything has pros and cons.
And the fact that most of the schools have a extensive curriculum in probably all of the major components. A lot of social studies courses,
Yep.
a lot of math courses, so they can take up to 5 or 6 different math courses
Yep.
at most of these schools. So, you know, that's an
That's an
opportunity that's optimum.
Right, so
Yeah.
that's
That's
really the way to look at
Yeah.
it, you know, because I think there's some positive options there.
Tina had a question.
Yeah, can you just, I know we discussed it already today, can you just point me to where it says how many consecutive semesters you have to be
I think it was on
enrolled to
13.
Page
qualify?
13,
I think it was on page 13.
last paragraph there, I think.
I don't think it's
It
there.
No, it
doesn't
doesn't
say
say
the
consecutive, no.
So where, you said that they had to be enrolled, I believe you said.
That was one.
You said,
Three semesters, consecutive semesters by the time of graduation.
but I don't see that.
That was once the rule, she said, right? That's not the rule.
Was that
anymore.
what you said is on the,
Course catalog,
yeah, is that what you said it was? On
Yeah.
the-
So you think it should be in here for an undergraduate?
I think you definitely do, we need to mirror what's in the,
Yeah.
So if you read that last paragraph, it says how it's calculated, but it doesn't say you gotta be here for
Yeah.
3
Exactly.
consecutive semesters.
Good.
That's a good catch.
I thought in
I
order to
read
be
that someplace.
a sour bell, it's 7, you have to have
seven
7 semesters. It really is, it should be, and I don't know where to find it in this, but, the policy is that 7 semesters in a school in order to be considered val, sal, or an honor grad. And the 7th semester ends 3rd quarter of your senior year. That's your 7th semester.
So basically, you really have to have been there as a sophomore, junior, and senior, is that what you're saying?
But that's not what this is.
But, yeah, that's not what this is, but yeah, that's what it, yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
The cutoff date for determining.
See, but it doesn't say you have to have been there the whole time.
Here it
So
is
the
right
first-
here.
the first bullet-
paragraph.
Well, I guess it does.
Must be enrolled in high school for 4 years and enrolled in a high school within Beaufort County School District awarding a diploma for a minimum of 3 consecutive semesters prior to graduation.
That code,
And that's for honor grads?
Yes, Val, Sal,
That's not
John.
for
But
7.
then that might be different
Yes,
from
and
right,
that's-
early graduate. and-
yeah, we had that issue back some years ago, remember?
Well,
A
yes.
student came here
Yes,
and they would not recognize it anymore. You know,
especially the transit community as
Right.
we are.
That's 3
Oh, yeah.
3 consecutive
So it's 3
semesters.
Consecutive
Yes.
semesters.
So it's not
Yeah.
7?
Don't you
Yes,
think that should be
three
in there?
Okay.
Yes, that need to be.
Yes,
Yeah.
we should add it in here,
Yes.
yes.
It does point out that you can't be
Well, so,
sal or
Or
top
top
10 if you are graduating in less than 4 years.
Right.
So basically, the student, well, the students, military, they transfer here, and then the top of this, at this current school, they transfer here, are we, in the military, are we punishing them for that?
But, and again, this came up, the board made this decision.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm asking,
And I will say,
I know, but I'm
are
asking
we
this, I'm
punishing
asking.
them to that? But at
Yeah,
the same
that's the
time, can we
question.
knock out that top 10 student who's been here for 3?
But that's the reality of life. You can have a job today and lose it tomorrow. I mean, my point of it is that, is that a state law or is that a board
The
policy?
state does not get involved with honor graduates and commencement ceremony, and that's something I talked to the Office of Accountability about. Across the state, they do not get into the commencement ceremony and how you identify your top 10 students.
You know?
Yeah, so to answer you, Will, I would say, I mean, we're ranking our top 10 based on their program here. When you have somebody come in, you're making your best estimate about how rigorous or non-rigorous or whatever that their course was. So is it really fair that let's say they had it easy wherever they were, and they come in with a higher GPA than everybody else? It's not really fair that they knock out the people that have had the more rigorous course here. And, as we've already discussed today, really class rank, it doesn't seem like colleges are as interested in that as they are the GPA.
Correct.
Yeah.
And their SAT score.
It won't affect them at
Because the SAT score is sort of, it's the leveling playing field, right?
Right.
I mean, it
Yes.
doesn't matter where you went to school, whether it was
Yes.
hard or whether it was
Yeah.
easy,
But-
right? It's the same
But
thing.
my only thing is that I don't want a kid whose parent, whose dad might be a journal, might be a superintendent like you, and y'all moving here, and now you coming in, your son was at the top of his class, coming from where y'all coming from, and then it's a family move. Kid can't stop it, and now the kid has to suffer because his class was just as rigorous.
Yeah, I can counter to that.
I mean, I'm just.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
I have a personal,
Go ahead, Kathy.
so I have a personal story with that. We moved around all the time because my husband got transferred. We moved my son's junior year of high school.
Right.
They didn't take any of his things. He was in an international baccalaureate program in Charlotte Open School. Didn't take anything. But he took they took his PSAT scores and his SAT scores, and he was a national merit scholar, as high as you could get. They put his picture all over the newspaper because he was representing their school, but he didn't get anything else. And that's just the way, so his thing, he got what he wanted because he had the test scores.
And the reality of it is, it's hard to do it fairly.
It is,
Without,
yeah.
because you gotta really examine every school that those students come from, and they're different students. He comes from a high-powered
Yeah.
program, I transfer in from a weak program,
Yeah.
and we all got the same
Same
grades.
GPA.
Yeah, it's difficult to make that kind of transition.
And another thing you'd be getting into is you're gonna start having private school students say, oh, I'm gonna transfer
That's right.
into the public
It
school.
happens
That's
all the
not-
time.
that's not
It
the story.
happens all the time.
That's
Right,
why.
that's the
That's
other
why.
component, right?
Yeah.
And to your point, Dr. Ward, I'll give you an example. Just this past school year, we had a student that was homeschooled at one of our particular schools. And this student was, I think he was 11th grade, had 98 across the board. And he failed US history. Where was the rigor in the curriculum prior to coming here?
Yeah.
Yes.
But he had 98, I mean, he was, I'm thinking, what was the validity in those grades? How was he being graded?
Yeah.
And he was having difficulty in the classroom.
Yeah.
So it is unfortunate, I think, but we do have to draw the line, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because our kids who've been here all the time deserve the, they have had the rigor and.
Yeah, it's a true picture of who we are.
Right.
Yeah,
That's the first thing.
okay,
Sounds good.
all right.
Okay, any questions, any
So can we
comments?
just clarify to make sure, so
Okay.
in regard to page 13, Roman numeral 10, grade point average D,
Mhm.
the BCST administration has determined the criteria for selection of honor graduates to include valedictorian, salutatorian, and top 10. Okay, it's based on GPA as determined before grading policy. So then I'm gonna add here in order, if this is what you want, in order, for valedictorian, salutatorian, top 10, the student must be enrolled in a high school for 4 years and enrolled in the high school within the BCSD, awarding the diploma for a minimum of 3 consecutive semesters prior to graduation. Then the cutoff date comes next. Then, students selecting accelerated graduation in less than 4 years are not eligible to be valedictorian or top 10.
Yes.
Do you think that sounds good?
Yes,
Yes.
that
So
covers it.
that's.
Yeah, I take it up, because that way, that question came up last week about
Yep,
somebody.
Covers
So then it's
everything.
clear, right?
yeah, that's, yes,
Yeah, she put in Beaufort County School on there.
Selection.
yeah.
Is there anything else in that policy that we don't have here that you need to
Well,
bring to light for us?
So I'll make this revision, send
So
it
I
to
think
everybody.
this is good.
Review.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
and then
Okay.
do you have to send this on to the state or no?
Then we'll do it at the board meeting and present. to the board.
Present it to the board.
Exactly. And the state just revised this UGP on May 14th,
Right.
and it dictates within it,
Yes.
you have purview to make
Yeah.
those, you know, level
Just
policy.
want to thank Carmen Charity for being here and
Yes.
for your
Yes,
input
thank you.
today.
Yes.
We needed your
We needed
input.
it, yeah.
Yeah,
So this is gonna then be on, agenda on
On-
Tuesday, the 6th, right? Under, so you're gonna present it under the academic committee, or it's gonna go, where should it go?
It goes under academic committee report, because the board doesn't vote on it.
Right.
Yeah, we
So
don't
So
vote
it's
on it.
it's just under the
Yes.
commit, just.
So we need to amend the agenda to include this.
Yeah.
We don't have to amend, I'll just add it to
I mean,
the
add
agenda.
Yeah, because we have, that committee
We just left it
report that
blank.
Al's, that Mel's gonna give, and then,
Mel, you'll give a report on Tuesday?
well,
I'll
not
give a
this.
report on the last 2 academic meetings, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
So I'll make the revisions and send it to everybody.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Do we need Emerson's to
Nothing
set
good
the
to-
next time?
You need to
Date
set the
time.
date for the next.
For the next meeting.
Well,
Do you wanna go back to your regular scheduled date, or?
which is,
You usually pick the third Wednesday of the
Third
month.
Wednesday of the month.
which is what date is
Thank
that?
you.
Thank you, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all,
You're welcome.
thank you all.
So that would be August 21st, the third Wednesday. We have a,
21st.
we have a board meeting on the 20th, correct?
Yep.
We have work session 15th and the 16th.
Or 16th.
16th and the
Yeah.
17th.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, does the 21st work for you now? Here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I thought
I
you
tell
were
you, those
calendar.
they're all good for me, I'm just thinking about
Oh,
something else around the 21st.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where would it be?
That's,
um,
are you all moving back to the school, or are you gonna have it here?
Is the school gonna be ready?
First day of school is the 19th, so,
So-
I mean, the kids are back at school on the
It should be
19th.
well polished then.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
They should be polished by the 21st.
Wear gray shoes.
You'll be there to examine the results.
Did we meet at Bluffton or McCracken?
You
We
meet
met-
at
we met at
McCracken,
McCracken,
and
we
we
met at
meet at the
McCracken,
media
yeah.
center.
Yeah, okay.
Cracken's Media Center.
Is that where you all
I
want to be?
don't necessarily wanna be in the media center, you remember the little cubicle things there.
Oh, yeah, those little
Yeah,
desks that we have to
yeah.
move around.
But that's probably, I mean,
And it was hot in there too, it was very hot in there.
yeah, the last
It was
time,
very
you're
hot
right,
in there.
you're right.
Everybody need to get the temperature changed.
Do they have another room
The
that's?
conference room?
They don't
Yeah.
have it as their, they have a tiny conference.
They have a small conference room.
Yeah,
I
it's
was
not
just
small.
getting that.
Maybe
But the
maybe a classroom would be fine then.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's up to you all.
Well, I hate to do a classroom that early in the year, there might be a teacher there still working in their
All
classroom pretty
the
late.
media, I haven't been in the media center there, all the media, everything is just the,
Little V-shaped
It's these
desk.
little
They have
desks.
puzzle, they have puzzle-looking desks,
Yeah,
that you
but-
put them together as
Yeah,
little puzzles.
yeah,
We can
we
actually-
can go there, I
yeah.
guess we can tolerate it.
Well,
Hey, we've done so
Oh,
far.
as long as the air conditioning is on.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
because
the last couple times it's been hot.
Yeah.
It's been.
It's the
Very
beginning
hot.
of the year, so they
Yeah.
probably have it working.
Okay,
You wanna,
McCracken,
at 4:30?
Well, no, also at some schools, after a certain period of time, they cut the air conditioning off.
Oh,
So, yeah, you
yeah.
make sure that
I
they,
know, it's, the the
Huh?
21st
Delicious stuff is
for the
controlled.
academic.
Right, so that is what we reach out and let them know to keep your on there.
Rob,
Yes, sir.
can you touch base with,
HR.
Robert and make sure that the AC's on that day?
Will Tricia be back, Kathy?
For what? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
she'll be back.
Yeah, is that, I
Right
think
back.
Tricia will
She'll
be
be
back.
back a week ahead.
Yes.
Yeah.
But,
We have the operations committee on Wednesday, August 14th.
Or the week
So
before.
maybe Thursday, August 15th, should that work?
she's got a, an AR, another
Some
AR
additional ARs.
that, and so we're under a time crunch, are we with this?
Well, I wanted, well, let's talk about it real quickly. We'll have one other AR, but with regard to the Code of Student Conduct, when we met today, we were talking about sending it out for review around the 8th, and would
So,
you like
You
the?
talking about the matrix of student?
Yeah, the
conduct?
matrix,
Right,
yeah, we
so-
can we don't
okay.
have to tell them about what
Well,
we're doing.
I mean,
so,
I'm looking at that information on that matrix. I really believe that we, you know, it's been crafted by a small number, right? And I really believe that it needs to be explored further with administrators, because they haven't even looked at it at all, you know?
And
I
we
know
want
as an
them to see it.
administrator,
Yeah.
if this is in terms of discipline and student
Right.
conduct and consequences and things like that, I wanna have a look at it because I'm, right?
You have to implement,
Yeah, I want some feedback. I wanna be able to have some input around that, right? So I know they haven't seen it at all yet, and I also know that, I think this also started, if I'm not mistaken, from teachers.
Oh, did it start from that committee?
It started at a board meeting.
Yes,
Even
it
talked
came
all the
from the-
April board
yes,
meeting, you gave her that
yes,
directive, what you wanted her to do, yeah.
That consolidated
But they-
group of
the
teachers.
group, that
It was
association,
their- It was
yeah.
their thing,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so it's got a small number, you know, input at the moment. So it's almost, in my opinion, it's best if whatever finished document they have, that we get some feedback from administrators and some other teachers in terms of this is a starting point
Yes.
document, this isn't a finished product, right?
Right, and the school.
I don't think it's ready to implement.
No,
So,
it's
yeah.
not ready to
Scratch.
implement at all.
So I think, you know, as the leader, that's a decision you make, that you've got, that teacher group came up with this, and this is where it is, and it's
Yeah,
not
I-
ready to come to the board yet, it doesn't
No.
sound like.
No, and rather than bring a half
Right.
built product forward, I think this is one of those touchy, sensitive issues that I really think requires feedback from every angle, so we can battle it out, right?
Yeah.
And land in a place
Yeah.
that we're comfortable moving forward.
Right, and for
To you.
my.
Well, and I think that would go to operations, because HR would fall under
But it's not,
operation.
it's not actually HR,
It's the
it's the
students.
code, it's the code of student conduct and what's
It's
happening.
a true student service,
It's a student services.
which,
That would be.
Which is-
And
that's
just for-
operations,
yes.
because that's
Okay.
Kiki who's under Alice. It's
Okay.
just a-
So it's not.
Oh, I thought it came here.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, excuse me.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, just for the benefit of everybody here, there were some new guidelines that were published by the Department of Education that were given to me by actually Sergeant Schmucker. And now, instead of having 5 levels, we're gonna be having 3 levels of conduct. So that's the part that I'm working on, is redoing that code of student conduct, AR, because I wanna make sure we're in compliance with those rules. And Ms. McKenzie and her group, they've been working on the matrix, which is,
Oh.
you know, very complicated, really it is, Dr. Rodriguez.
Yeah, I know it is, I know it. We went through this process, you
We have a
know,
lot of
years
work to do
ago,
on this.
and we had input from everywhere with large groups, and that's what I'd like to see is multiple
Yeah.
eyes on it from different levels, so that we
Make
get
it
to a
really-
good place.
Make it really
Yeah.
beneficial and a
How can
useful
you-
tool for
yeah,
everybody.
Isn't that time sensitive?
I don't see how
I mean-
this can be completed and prepared for the start of
No,
school. I think we have to begin school
It's
with
so
the
hard.
current.
The current
The
one.
whole current system.
Yeah, I think so,
Okay.
because if we, I'm telling you, if we don't, you know,
We gotta make.
it's one of those sensitive topics, you end up with a revolt
Yeah.
And we don't wanna revolt.
if you don't,
Now, But our current system have a 5-tier
Yeah,
stack,
but
right?
Right now, we'll have to keep using that until we get it into the new form. But basically what's happening now is level 3 is all the criminal conduct. And the first level, level 1, is conduct that's in a classroom, and it's like disrupting the classroom, but it's not something you're gonna be suspended. It's more something happening in the school. And the second one, yeah, the second one is where it's disrupting the school. The third one, so I've got, getting all the criminals, all the criminal violations, I've been all the criminal violations.
How does that Josh with the state requirements? The state
That's what
requiring
the
us?
state saying.
I know, but they're requiring us to do that the first day of school this year? Or?
No.
Oh, okay, right.
We're allowed to have more stringent requirements if we want to, so our 5 is more stringent than the 3.
Okay.
But we're trying to get it into 1, 2, and 3 because we thought really it would be better for everybody to have the criminal all in one section. And that way,
Easier-
I think it will make it.
Easier to be fair.
Yes,
Equitable.
yes, that's
Yeah.
right, that's exactly right,
Easier
yeah,
to be equitable.
yeah.
We have a bunch of concerns there, but I won't discuss those here, but we have. No, we did a formal meeting, yeah, we did a formal meeting. Yeah.
Okay, motion and we adjourn?
Okay, so I don't, yeah, so that way, just let me
So we're on
clarify.
Wednesday, August 21st.
Right,
And we
but
don't.
the code, the AR that you had was the code of conduct.
No,
Oh, it's a different one.
It's a
Okay.
different I'm working on, right, so
I'm sorry.
I was trying to work on it. I was
Okay.
working with
5 o'clock here.
Chrissy Robinson yesterday, because
Code of
there's
conduct.
just a couple tiny little changes to that virtual, they've changed the name to virtual education, now there's a couple little changes to that AR, but I wanted to get that done, so I'll have that AR done.
Okay, so that's, I just wanted virtual learning or something.
Yeah,
So virtual
Virtual
learning
ed.
is your,
that's the
Hold on,
next
hold on,
agenda.
Mike.
That's
That
the
is-
AR, but I think we'll probably wanna add something else to the agenda to pick up some, you know,
That's the 21st you go.
yeah,
for the 21st, for the 21st at 4:30 at
See y'all
H.E.
tomorrow.
McCracken.
Take care.
right.
Bye, take care.
Bye.
What else, what other loose ends, I mean, we had a lot of things that,
Loose
stop and
ends,
think.
special ed that covered.
Special ed, we had, yeah, we could go back to special ed.
K-8,
we-
but the thing you were working on were the priority schools, were you getting back to
Yes.
those, you're working on the priority schools and
Yeah.
those.
Because we
Yeah,
never
because
did
you-
see the MOAs for those schools.
And those
So we
are.
actually-
Because you were waiting
in
for the school to come
September.
back in session.
Yeah,
The priority schools and one of those other ones called target schools.
the targets
That's
at
coming
TSI.
back in September, I can't remember
Yes.
if it's the first or second meeting in September.
It should be the second meeting in September,
Okay, we already established that.
because you were waiting for for them to come back to school.
Yeah.
So you were going to start
Yeah.
working on those things as
And
well.
What,
What about the strategic,
So then you have the PEs that you should be looking at too, that goes with the work plan.
right, but
can we do that before the results?
were we gonna do that at the, wasn't PEs on our agenda for the work session, no?
The work plan is on the agenda for the work session. So the PEs are,
Committee level usually.
Right.
Yeah.
well, they should be committee level so that the committees would deal with each of their,
Divvy up
the academic.
the, right,
But
responsibilities.
do we need that work done before the work session?
As I was sharing yesterday at agenda setting, most of the committees have not gotten that work done, so it probably would not be done for the work session, so you can, suggestion, go with the work plan as it is, and then as committees can make changes, you can make changes as you go along, and you just approve your work plan as it is presented, and then you can change your PEs and the stuff. But you just do need to get them on your agenda, the committees, to work on them.
Because I mean, if we wanted to work on our PEs
Yeah.
before that meeting, we could have a meeting on the 14th instead of the 21st, just to work on the PEs.
She shouldn't be back then.
She's not back the 14th?
She's coming on 14.
Oh, is that when she's coming back? Okay, then we'll just stay with that.
And you would be one of the only couple of committees to have, so I'm saying,
Okay, you know, we can start just looking at them by ourselves, so we have some stuff to take, you know, to make our, yeah.
so are you meeting on the 14th or on the
On the
21st?
21st.
Okay, the administrative regulation is IS 39, distance, online, and virtual education.
IS 39.
Yes, sir, and I'll work on that.
IS is 39.
Yes, 39.
Today's was IS 43.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty,
That's right. You know
Just
what?
give me the 2 letters and then the number, and I got it.
So, you know what I wanted to ask those ladies? So in AP classes here, do they give a final exam? When I was a kid and taking AP classes, our final was considered the AP exam, and our teachers didn't make us take another exam.
I think that's.
I think that's the way it is for having had children,
Yeah.
pick a bunch of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's the
Yeah.
situation. AP exam is, yeah,
You
that's,
just took the AP exam.
that's hard.
Yeah, and I mean,
That's,
you're not
that's
gonna,
very intense stuff.
yeah, you're not gonna get the score back in time to, you know, get into your grade, but
No.
at that, you know, so that's just my question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adjourning?
We're adjourning. Oh, I thought we'd already adjourned.
Okay,
It's a gavel.
so